Okay, it is 5:31. I will call the meeting to order. Sonia, will you take roll call?
Commissioner Shaw,
Here.
Commissioner Devil,
Here.
Commissioner Wire,
Here.
Commissioner Corbin,
Here.
Mayor Denner,
Here.
Commissioner Iverson,
Here.
Commissioner Maxwell,
Here.
Commissioner Wolf, here, Commissioner Fallbush, here, Commissioner Olson,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Sonia. We have the agenda in front of us. Do I have a motion to accept the agenda? So moved. Second. Motion and a second to adopt the agenda. Is there any comments, discussion? Hearing any? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. We have a special joint Board of Commissioner and Planning Commission meeting here. I am going to open it up for a hearing for first reading ordinance number 1633, medical cannabis establishment. Is there anybody that would like to speak on this hearing?
I'm here to speak about it, but I don't know what your plans are yet.
Come on up.
Cannabis has been around since the early 1900s, and people used it for medical reasons, for a drug. Like all drugs, they get abused. Now it's being used more and more, and people are finding out that it does work for some problems. I have something here where in Israel, been using it since the 1900s. And they use it for Parkinson's, Crohn's disease, pain-related illnesses. And it's not legal to have it as far as a drug to get high on or recreational drug. It's for medical use. I think we should have something going for the medical part of it. Because I have a lot of problems now from something the government give me. And hopefully we can find something else to stop me from shaking. Okay.
Thank you. You bet.
I just kind of a little bit to reiterate what Rod said there. My wife was diagnosed with MS about 14 years ago, and she suffered from chronic pain, and MS is one of those diseases along with several other that have scientifically been proven that cannabis does reduce the pain quite a bit. She has a sister in Washington, and she's visited her twice in the 14 years, 2 weeks each time. And out there, she utilized cannabis. It was legal. And that's the only time she's been without pain. So I'm just saying, like Rod says, a lot of drugs get abused, but for medical purposes, it's a godsend for my wife and a lot of other people. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Hearing from anybody else, I will close the hearing. The planning, we do have a planning commission. We are recommended to bring their into the meeting, have a joint meeting to see if they would want to recommend this ordinance on the medical cannabis establishment. So if I have a recommendation from the board,
Is there any discussion on the planning commission first? Anyone want to offer any? If not, then I guess I would entertain a motion that as a planning commission to recommend this to the city. Ordinance 1633. Motion from the planning commission to recommend.
Need a motion.
Yes, yes.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I'll second. Any other discussion? Not, all those in favor of recommending ordinance 1633 to the city commission, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
You don't need us for the first year.
No,
All right.
thank you for you guys' time coming.
And we'll do this later.
Yes, we will.
Zoning and everything.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
Okay. We will now move down into appearances and acknowledgement. Do I have a motion to acknowledge board minutes for April? Second. Got a motion and a second to acknowledge the board meeting minutes of April. Any further comments or discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. All opposed. Motion carried. Move down into the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So
Second.
Any comments or discussion on the consent calendar?
I guess I do have a comment. As I went through the packet, I was trying to figure out, if the community center is having money issues, why we've hired 7 more people. Some of these are supervisors on duty. I guess my first question is, didn't we restructure and put an assistant director in place for that? Out of curiosity.
Answer that.
Yeah, please do.
So the 7 new hires, I'm not sure where the 7 new hires, if that can be pulled up. Supervisor on duties are our front desk workers. That's just our front desk workers. That's turnover rate. College kids graduating, new college kids coming back from the summer, our old college kids, that's supervisor on duty. They're the ones that close down the facility at night. We can't be there 24/7. That's what those positions are for. Any of the other positions are the same thing. They're just part-time positions. Turnover.
The 3 for the children rec program. That is the after-school program or the summer program.
Yeah, that's a summer program.
Okay.
3 had to be hired because we have 102 kids.
And that's, have you heard any more on the grant yet?
Nope, we sent an email out here just today, just to see where it was and haven't heard anything back yet.
But our intention is what, if we get that grant's gonna pay these 3 positions.
That grant pays for basically all after-school program.
Right. So,
That's irrelevant.
right.
Because the grant would fund this, or this is a self-pay anyway, so
Yeah.
we'll cover that.
Right.
I know we've gone round and round on being in the hole and in the red, and, when we continue to get sheets for people to be hired, and I asked and asked and asked, what are we gonna do to restructure the structure?
Mhm.
So that we don't have to keep going backwards, so that maybe we get the corner turn to get back up the hill.
Mhm.
I guess I'm just asking questions, because we are in the red, so. That's all.
Any,
Further questions?
any other comments?
And you're what?
3 that you hired for aquatics for lifeguards as well.
Not hearing any more comments or discussion. All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carried. Thank you, Dan. We're going to move down into unfinished business. I'm going to open the public hearing, temporary retail on-off sale malt beverage license, Greater Madison Area Chamber of Commerce, Lake Area Improvement Court, downtown in Madtown. Is there anybody here who wants to talk about it during the hearing?
Eric Hartness, Executive Director of the Greater Madison Area Chamber of Commerce. Like the mayor said, this is for our downtown and Madtown event. It's Tuesdays that run from 6 to 9 o'clock. And same setup as previous, where the United Way will be running the beer area. And we typically have a police officer in uniform that checks IDs for anybody that needs to be checked. And we really have not, as I see Chief Meyer here, we've not had any issues in previous years. So that is kind of a quick snapshot of our application.
Okay. Thank you, Eric. Is there anybody else? No one else, so I'll close the hearing. We will move down to item number 2 under new business. Do I have a motion to approve the temporary retail on-off sale malt beverage license, Greater Madison Area Chamber of Commerce, Lake Area Improvement Court, downtown in Madtown? So. Second. Any further comments or discussion?
Good event. It's good for the community. Pulls a lot of people together.
All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 2 under unfinished business. Brad, do you have any updates on Madison Aquatic Center?
I just have 2, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. I met with the electrical engineer last week. He's finishing up his plans. He gave us a list of components to look at purchasing separate from the contract to install them. We put those out, and this coming Thursday, we'll know where we're at for pricing and for timeline on delivery of those components. That'd be all the electrical boxes, all the electrical components. We also went out and tried to get quotes on the boiler. The boiler right now, with all the suppliers we've been able to find for the direct replacement boiler, are telling us it's 12 weeks out. Our fallback position has always been that if we can get the electrical up and running, we would attempt to use the existing boiler, since it's not really part of the electrical system. We would rebond it, make sure that it was safe and everything, but attempt to operate it to heat the water until we can get a replacement. So that's the plan as we sit right now. We'll know, like say, on Thursday where we sit for timing on delivery of all the electrical components. Are there any questions?
Yes, I have one for Mr. Jenks. Are we able to split this up this far and get the equipment purchased and then just bid out the labor?
No. Can't split a bid to do one with equipment, one with labor. It's not gonna comply with South Dakota law.
If it's over 100,000,
Correct.
do we have an estimate on what the total work would be?
The total
For
work,
this first phase? of
the first
improvements?
phase, yeah, the total work was right around $50,000 for, that was furnish and install.
Right, so we'd be safe moving forward with equipment purchased with labor being paid for later.
Absolutely. If that's the price.
Right, and we won't know until we get the bids, and obviously for, you know,
Understood.
votes for both, so that's.
But I don't want to lead the commission to believe that we can split up labor and equipment to get
I understand.
under something.
Thank you. David. Okay,
Thanks, Brad.
thank you, Brad. We'll move down into new business. Do I have a motion on the first reading of the ordinance number 1633, medical cannabis establishment?
Second?
Any further comment or discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 3.
Can I make a brief
Yep.
comment on that? Since especially the paper probably be reporting us a little bit too. This first ordinance that was in place for medical cannabis establishments is something that's been put together by our municipal league and with assistance from outside counsel as well. And the intent there is to be able to provide some language for municipalities moving forward for how to handle medical cannabis. It's fully anticipated that down the road, as the state develops more of the processes on this, that will need to be passing another ordinance to update some of it. So, yeah, I don't have a lot of details on the exact content of this. You can look it obviously, but the intent is that there'll be more ordinances coming up the road.
Is there a copy of that ordinance someplace that I can get?
Yeah, I believe this would be attached to our agenda.
Yeah, it'll be part of the minutes too, when they come out.
In the paper?
Yeah, so essentially this first ordinance, they haven't finished the legal portion of the guidance from the state yet. And they're looking at a couple months before they've got that all ironed out. This ordinance basically says that anyone wanting to open one of these medical establishments that sells marijuana will need to apply for a permit. And they just need to wait till the state gives the guidance for whatever that is. So they're expecting within a few months.
And I took to the state.
Yep.
Thank you.
Item number 3, authorize the mayor to sign agreement Lake County 2020-2021 purchases fuel.
So we're gonna purchase fuel for last year. Or should be two. Just out of curiosity.
It should be 21, 22.
Okay,
COVID, I mean, the years are.
They're all on the same.
Everything runs together.
thank you,
Well, I just wanna
Commissioner
make
Shaw.
sure.
The agreement in it is in the packet. Last year, when this was brought to us through the county, it was at 10 cents. We pay the vendor the fuel we use. And then on top of that, we pay 10 cents per gallon for the county for admin fee. That has went up 17 cents, so we're at 27 cents a gallon. Just to let you guys know, last year when Miss Eimers was here, she did mention to us that it will be going up. So I took the liberty to reach out to a company. Sioux Equipment, where we get our fuel equipment for the airport. Just to give you some numbers, I wasn't sure how much they were gonna go up. I got some estimates from last year to what it would cost to put tanks in. And what the monthly fee was to keep the software going on that. Just to let you guys know, to install a 2,000 gallon tank and a 4,000 gallon tank with the system filling it. We were right under $38,000. and $85 a month for service fees on that. Without knowing how much that went up. 27 cents. It'd probably take us close to 8 years to pay off them tanks. I guess at this point in time, I would stay with the county, let them purchase it. With getting up to 50 or 75 cents per gallon that we were paying for admin fee. We probably could turn these tanks around a little bit more. But I did, like I said, I didn't know how much they were gonna go up from last year. At this point in time, 27 cents, I think we still be all right with it.
How many gallons of fuel do we use a year? Do we know that?
City of Madison, we used 2,260 gallons of gas and 17,362 gallons of diesel. So 19, looking almost 20 gallons.
And then, so we pay the 27 cents on top of whatever the fuel
Right.
price is.
Right.
And that big jump was some maintenance and repairs that they ended up having to do last year that they split a portion of with us. Which is fair. Same, again, with a quote, if you're looking at putting in your own tanks, that doesn't take into consideration maintenance that you would then be feeding completely as well. Just a side note.
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign agreement Lake County 2021-22 for the purchase fuel.
Second.
Any further comments or discussion?
Have we looked into fuel card program?
Yes, I did reach out to Mr. Schultz out at F&M. And he said, us not being, we wouldn't save that much on it. I know East River Electric has cards, they're on a different program, he said, where they can go outside of the state to get there.
We're the proud owner of a fuel system. What does that cost us? If we, anyone ever look into it and divide out the miles per gallon?
For the year.
I wonder if we could add a tank to that.
You mean out at the airport?
Yes.
Okay,
Not to make our lives more complicated, but
And you don't have to make a decision on this today. You could table it to look into that as an option. Last year they didn't.
it's kind
pass
of
it
quick.
until-
Maybe we'll, ride this out for a year. Think about it. I don't know how many people I just upset, but I'm sure.
Feeling bad. The question would be is where they could put the tanks. You have to drive all the way to the airport to get fuel, or can you get a tank for the town?
Well, we're not Minneapolis.
It's a long drive. What happens if you run out?
I just,
Plan ahead.
Yeah. I do like the thought, though, that maybe we need to explore this, do this for the year and then spend the year looking at that.
Is there any staff preference?
The big equipment, you want to stick as close as you can to the shop. The other question is the FAA can allow that type of traffic on their work route?
are you just throwing that out there, or?
Just came to the top of my head.
I was wondering that too. Thank you.
okay. So I have a motion to have the mayor authorize the mayor to sign the agreement, Lake County 2021-2022 purchase of fuel. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 4. Sonia, did you want to?
The FAA agreement, our grant that you agreed to or accepted last week. This is just the Department of Transportation Administration end of that.
they administer those grant proceeds, so this is just approving them to administer those funds.
Do I have a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement, Department of Transportation agreement for the AIP 3-46-0029-021-2021?
So move.
Second it.
Any further comments, discussion? Hearing, all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Item number 5, discuss the organizational structure of the engineering department. I put this on, would like some guidance from the rest of us, from the rest of you on the direction we want to move with the engineering department. The options is to hire a PE engineer and go like we have been, or there's discussion of subbing all our engineering out. Comments?
What does James think? Thank you for asking. Yeah, it's a good question. I've looked into this quite a bit the last couple weeks. Well, my entire tenure with the city of Madison, I've been working on this project. I had Ryan put together a list of activities that the engineering department currently does, and then also a short list of things that aren't done, but possibly could be done in the future, too, just for your own reference. There should be 2 extra copies I'd share, one with the gentleman from the newspaper, and then anybody else wants to go back there if you can have one. So you can kind of look through here to see what the engineering department does. I think that most people are surprised to see the activities are far more extensive than one would commonly think. The department does more than design or engineer, but that is a significant part of it. I also reach out to some other cities to see what alternative structures might be present. There are towns that have city planners, that have community development directors, that have city engineers, some towns that have all, depending on the size of those municipalities. The bottom line is we need to be able to structure our own departments to fit the needs of our community and also using the existing resources, expertise of our staff in hand. Especially based on that latter part, we have 2 excellent engineering staff that are in the department currently. They have expertise in designing improvements and are capable of doing that, but they don't have the engineering certification to stamp those drawings or to have the final sign off on that. Based on that, I would recommend rehiring the engineering position as a city engineer. Without that position, we would have significant staff expertise in-house that would be going to waste in my mind. Down the road, as staff move around or as opportunities arise, we could look at doing other positions such as a city planner or a director to oversee different groups on that as well. I also learned a little bit more today that the city in the past had approved resolution for the wage structures or the positions for the city. And there is a position that was approved for building official / code enforcement. Code enforcement currently is not something that's included in the engineering department. It's the first thing listed on that last page for potential additional involvement. And then the other 2 positions would be a senior engineering tech and then an additional engineering tech on that as well. So we have 2 guys right now. I think that would fill the engineering tech's positions well. And then potential to add that building official / code enforcement officer. That's already on the books as far as the pay scale goes. It'd be up to the commission when we wanted to add that. I think we could table that discussion for a future date, but for today, handle whether we want to hire out the engineering or not. 2 options that was outlined by the mayor would be to contract it all out or to hire it out. There are pros and cons to both sides. I'd recommend rehiring that engineer position. The town this size has sufficient work to keep somebody busy in that position. There's always going to be capital projects that come and go each year. So the total engineering workload, some years is going to be massive and some years much less. So we're never going to be able to take on everything. And additionally to that, no one engineer is going to have expertise in all the different areas the city needs. But that one city engineer would be able to have the capacity to be a project manager, oversee the existing staff, helping them with their designs and working with those engineering firms that we contract with. So that'd be my recommendation to the commission.
I'll take the recommendation of the city administrator to hire a city engineer effective immediately.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
James, do you know how many projects our former professional engineer stamped over the last couple of years by chance?
I can defer to Ryan, let's see if he has an answer, but first, and before we go back to discussion, is there a second on that, or? That motion back?
Do we need one? You're getting kind of jumping the gun a little, are you?
I think we do.
Second?
Okay, motion and
Oh, I
second,
need
we
a
can,
motion.
we can jump back to discussion on that motion and second. Ryan, do you have an answer for that question?
Number of them. I mean, we typically. I take on more of these things, we do that, and I guess that number increases.
I think that's a good point. Currently, Ryan is the building official, so that takes up the majority of his time. And if that position were to be filled in the future, that would open up his time for a lot of the design work, allowing us to have more efficiencies and cost savings doing that stuff in-house. Good question.
Yeah, I think we have his FEMA projects as well. That's what we're seeing.
I will add a lot of information out there, but I think another important point is that in the past, the city engineer has had a higher level view handling zoning and land use planning, and that would continue with this new position as well. But we would need that person with that certification to do that final stamping.
I guess I have one comment. I mean, that's what I hear is when Chad was here, I'm not knocking Chad anything, but the comment always to me was, why are we subbing these jobs out when we got an engineer on staff? And like Jameson had said, not every, there's many different levels of engineering, and not everybody's proficient in every level. I'm not saying we're not gonna, if we hire this person, we're not gonna sub something out, because we will. But I feel that Chad had a lot on his plate. And we didn't have the time. That is why we subbed out a lot. I would like to see this new position, we get this PE on staff to limit his, take a lot off his plate so he can do the engineering, so we wouldn't have to sub it out, is where I would like to go with it. Go ahead, Craig.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to speak on behalf of someone who's worked at a consulting engineering firm before. And for every engineer that you have on staff, you have multiple support staff. An engineer by himself is pretty useless. I'll say that right up front, because he can only do so much. But you have to have surveyors, you have to have people that do testing out on the projects, you have to have draftsmen, you have to have people that run the other parts of it, the administrative parts. An engineer by himself is only as good as the staff that they have underneath them. I'm not saying anything bad about them. They don't have enough staff to really do a lot of projects. So if we want to do that in-house, we're gonna have to make some investments, software and people. We don't have enough software and don't have enough people. So I think it's a good thing to have someone in-house, because planning and zoning is where the rubber meets the road, and we need to have the best of the best in planning and zoning. We have to have the sharpest people doing that, because if we don't, we're gonna make errors in planning and zoning, and those you don't recover from. Those are permanent. We want the very best people we can have in planning and zoning, and we want good people to do our engineering, but we've gotta have the support staff. We can't do it all by himself. It's not a one-man band. It's just doesn't work. So that's my recommendation, is that we do hire. I support the recommendation to hire a professional engineer, but we have to make the commitment that whatever you put on that person that you give them the support staff they need to accomplish it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. Is there any other comments for discussion? Hearing, so we have a motion to hire a PE engineer to replace Chad Thomas in our engineering department. I have a second. All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Item 6, discuss and approve the community center organizational structure and recreation intramural coordinator position.
There should have been a packet sent out there for you of the options that we discussed over the last couple months. With the board approving this one and taking it to the board, we went with option 1, which would bring in recreation and intramurals and special events to the community center, split at 60-40. And a MAC would then go back to 100% city with no shared position anymore. It also then went to the Parks and Rec board, and they viewed this structure and discussed it. And then it went to our 4-person board, which was approved by our 4-person board between the DSU finance and president and Sonia and the mayor. So here's the structure that we have gone to. Questions?
Here, what's a WIS? You got too many terminologies here that I can't keep track of. Says,
WSI.
what's that?
The WSI.
The WSI.
WSI would be water safety instructor. You're
Okay.
basically swim lessons.
Okay, thank you.
So your recommendation is option 1, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So then there wouldn't be any shared employee with the MAC then? is that-
Correct.
Okay,
Which I think has caused the confusion over the years where we've ran into a lot of problems.
We still may use some of the lifeguards, so.
Yeah, so how that would come to is our CC Aquatics and Assistant Director, Lori right now, would basically give the applications to whoever the manager would be for the MAC. They could then contact our lifeguards to see if they would want to work at the MAC. I'm sure Lori will probably have a list already of who's going to lifeguard outside of town, inside of town already anyways, but they will contact our CC Aquatics to be in touch.
Do I have a motion to approve option 1, community center organizational structure and recreation intramural coordinator position?
I'll make the motion, assuming we still need to discuss how we're going to handle the MAC.
Second.
Any further comments or discussion on this organizational chart, option 1? Not hearing any? All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 7 is self-explanatory. I need a motion to designate depository for municipal funds for 2021 for First Premier Bank.
We have the other banks listed in town. Nobody went up and was just a lot of these options too. or reach out to them for
I'll make that
interest
motion.
rates. and-
I'll make that.
Second.
Any further comments or discussion? Not hearing any? All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Public comment. Nothing? Okay, I have announcement. We are changing our meeting date to June 1st due to Memorial Day holiday. Is there any other announcement? Hearing any? Do I have a motion to go into exec session?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you for all coming.